Hello, I'm Neil Screeton, owner of Screeton's Limited Chartered Accountants. This is the second part to my introduction to claiming business expenses. Obviously, many businesses have different expenses. Obviously, your direct costs will very much depend on what your trading activity is. However, many indirect expenses or overhead costs are shared by many businesses. So I'm going to run through a few of the main ones today. One of the obvious ones are premises expenses. If you own or rent the property from which you operate, then obviously the cost of heating, lighting, rates, insurance, all of those things are all claimable. There is a different situation for people who operate from their own home. I'll come back to that later. One of the second main items is telephone, mobile phone, landline. If you have a specific line or phone for your business, then obviously you can claim the whole lot. There's no need to disallow a private proportion. One thing to note about telephones, if you are VAT registered, then there is no VAT to deduct from mobile phone top-ups, whereas with a contract phone there will be VAT to deduct. That's something to bear in mind. Postage, printing, stationery, most businesses will incur something in the way of those expenses. With postage, also from a VAT point of view, there is no VAT on postage, so don't fall into the trap of trying to claim that. One of the main ones is advertising, be it newspapers, magazines, online. All forms of advertising your business are allowable. If you have a website, the cost of setting up the website and maintaining it, any sort of annual or monthly fees you pay, all those things are claimable. Now, one important thing to note is that entertaining clients, even though for most businesses that's as important an aspect of gaining work, gaining sales as advertising, entertaining clients is not an allowable business deduction. You cannot claim it against tax. So anything that you incur on entertaining your customers, taking them out for a meal, is essentially out of your own pocket, no tax deduction for it. However, staff entertaining, you can claim, subject to an annual limit. You can claim for entertaining your staff, so that sort of sweetens the pill of the office Christmas party a little bit. Broadband, another important expense in this day and age. Now, people who operate from home, often the broadband comes in with a TV and telephone package, so it's important to disallow a reasonable amount for private use. So if you get a bill that breaks the cost down into the different aspects, then that can be very useful. Insurance, no matter what kind of insurance, buildings insurance, contents, public liability, professional indemnity, goods in transit, all forms of insurance are allowable as a tax deduction. Bear in mind again that there is no VAT on insurance, subject to insurance premium tax, which you cannot claim back, unfortunately. One thing with a sort of dual aspect is equipment. Now, obviously most businesses have some form of equipment that they use. Now, repairs to equipment and sort of replacing small tools, they're both deductible against your profits. However, buying new equipment falls into the capital allowances regime, so that's slightly differently treated, and I would always advise that you get an accountant or a tax advisor involved when you get into claiming capital allowances. One interesting one is protective clothing. used a lot in the construction industry. Protective clothing and laundering of protective clothing is an allowable expense. However, anyone who say has to wear a suit for purposes of business, that's not allowable. Even if the only reason you wear the suit is for business, you cannot claim the cost of it, unfortunately. Training is another one. If you're doing training in order to maintain your competence in your current area of business, if you need to do a certain amount to retain your license or permit, if you do continuing professional development, that's an allowable expense. However, if you pay for training which is in a new area, unconnected with your current trade, then you will not be able to claim that as the business expense. Now, to go back to an earlier point, as I was mentioning, business premises, those people who operate from their own home can claim an allowance for the business use of their private residence. Now, Revenue and Customs say that this should be claimed only if you have a specific room in your house used as an office. Now, this is a relatively small deduction usually for a proportion of the heat and light and rates which can be deemed business use. Now, there is a higher deduction which can be claimed, but I would recommend that before you try to claim this, that you do see a tax advisor or an accountant, because the claiming of it is a little bit more complex. Now, obviously that above list can not hope to be totally comprehensive. There may be many other things that you can claim, and if you want to discuss what you can claim for your business, any accountant, any good accountant should go through with you the nature of your business expenses and what you can rightfully claim. So if you want to contact Screetons Limited about it, please do. We're on 01827 715 264. Email us at info@screetons.co.uk or visit the website www.screetons.co.uk. Thank you.